Hello there. My name is Jasom Jensai. Welcome to this stream where we're going to be discussing all of the shows that Disney has announced so far as of this time. But before we get into all of those, starting with the Acolyte, as you can see, we have the question of the stream, which is, what is Thrawn's full name? So his just name, the three parts of it. Just the rules of the question stream, in case this is your first stream, are you can't look it up, like online or anything. You can't, blanking on them. Okay, only the first person to guess it gets the points. It's 10 points, by the way. And you only get one guess. So, that's all there is for that. With all that out of the way, let's move on to the rest of the stream, which is just going to be talking about all these different shows. So, Acolyte. From what we know, and I'm not, super deep into this because I don't like speculating that much, but I do know quite a bit just from being a Star Wars fan and seeing videos about it and stuff like that. It is about, so it's in the High Republic era. I think it's towards the end of that, and it seems to me, based on the name, and also the picture up here, it seems like it's going to be following a Sith, which I think could be really cool. It could also be following a Dark Jedi. I could see that too, but I think, best case scenario for me, we get to see what the Sith are doing during the High Republic area. That would be super cool to see, just because, I can imagine them making just this giant plot. And the other thing is, the Sith have been building their strength for 1,000 years. It seems like their plan couldn't have taken that long. And yes, I get it, it's a very long-term plan, but centuries-long plan, not a millennia-long plan to me. At least it could be that they're setting it up, but I think it could also be interesting if the Sith go for a plan, but they're too cautious, and so they fail. And so they're not discovered, but still they fail. And then maybe that's how they know that, because Windu and Yoda know that there's only supposed to be two Sith. That could be a thing. That's how they figure it out. The other thing is, they could just have the rule of two be in place before the Jedi flee, but I don't know, that's a whole different conversation. So yeah, I think Acolyte could be cool. The other option, of course, is it's a Dark Jedi or just a Sith assassin, or the Sith are just not the main characters. That would be cool too. Honestly, it depends on the plot, it depends on the characters. This is why I don't like speculating. It's impossible to say whether it'll be good or not. But I think this one is good. I'm excited for this one because it's something new. It's not just like an old character or anything like that. It's something new, and it's also something interesting. It's not just like, oh, a new character who's a scoundrel and he's just a good guy. It's something new and it's something interesting, and I think that's really good for Star Wars. So moving on to the Ahsoka show, which I am really excited for, and hence I'm very scared of it. So at the end of Rebels, and by the way, how I see this is kind of a continuation of Rebels, which is part of why I'm super excited for it, because at the end of Rebels, we get this really awesome epilogue where it shows all the main characters, and they all, go doing their thing, but then it gets to Sabine, and Ahsoka walks up, and they're going to find Ezra. Now, Ezra had gone off into space with the space whales, majestic creatures that they are. He had gone off into space with Thrawn, and now they're stranded somewhere. What I think would be really cool is if Ezra and Thrawn have to team up to fight against the Grisk, and then, Ahsoka and Sabine find them, and Ezra and Thrawn are now teamed up. They may be split ways, but by that point, Thrawn has learned, he's learned the Force, and maybe between that, or no, because that would be during the Mandalorian era, because it's at that Mandalorian era. So maybe they split up. Thrawn is like, well, we need the Empire to help defeat the Grisk, and Ezra's like, no, we can't bring the Empire back, and so they part ways. I think there's a really cool story to tell there between Thrawn and Ezra. Ahsoka too, as well. I mean, she's just such a big character at this point in Star Wars. Starting in the Clone Wars, brought into Rebels, now into the Mandalorian. She's just been in so much stuff. You really get to know her, and that really helps her character. So I'm excited to see her too. Sabine Wren as well. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff they could do with Sabine. especially with this era and how Mandalore could be. There could be some interesting stuff on Mandalore. I think Sabine is an underrated character because she hasn't really been explored that much. She's got a few episodes, specifically the Trials of the Darksaber episode. That episode is so good. And I think if they did more episodes like that, or just fleshed Sabine out in the Ahsoka show, I think we'd get to see, I don't know, I think she could be a really cool character. Same with Ahsoka, she's already a cool character, so just keep her that way. Ezra, I think, could also have potential to be a cool character, but I think mostly just because he's now in a situation with Thrawn, which automatically makes him cooler. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. On the other hand, I could be totally wrong, and I could be disappointed, and so that's why I'm a little bit nervous for this. But at the same time, there's like, as far as I know, there's no announcement for when it's actually going to come out, so we don't really know. It's hard for me to be excited for something that I don't even know when it's going to happen. So thanks for that, Lucasfilm. All right, moving on to the Andor series. This is something that I've heard like mixed feelings on. On the one hand, it's just Andor. It's this throwaway character from Rogue One. That's how some people say it. Some other people think it's super exciting because of the time period. But to me, both of those are just missing the point. The first people are like, oh, it's just a throwaway character. We don't know them very well. So, yeah, but you have to start with a character not knowing them well. You can't just start with a known character. Like, Star Wars didn't come from, like Luke Skywalker. He wasn't known when Star Wars first came out, and yet now he's a beloved character. So you have to start somewhere. Andor, I get he's not the most interesting, but you could add more interest with his backstory, and I think he actually already does have an interesting backstory. It's just people don't see it because he doesn't have as much character. But I think he could be a main character. I think that would work. As for the other option, where you're just interested in the time period, you're missing the point of the show, in my opinion. Obviously, it's subjective, but I think if you're just focused on the setting, you may as well just read a textbook or a history book or something. Stories are different than that. The setting is important. They can really elevate your story, but they can't really be the reason your story is good. Like, usually when there's a good story, or usually when there's a great story, it has a great setting. Usually when you have a good story, it has either a good plot or good characters, but rarely is there bad characters and bad plot, but a good setting. Usually those stories are like, oh, it had so much potential, but it didn't work. And it's because it just doesn't work as a story. It works as a textbook, which is interesting. It's like a very interesting textbook, but it doesn't work as a story. So on to my thoughts of Andor. I'm excited. As I said, I think Andor can be a main character. I think he has enough backstory. He's got enough interesting character flaws and all that. The one concern I have is that he's not Force sensitive, and I know that's a terrible concern because most people aren't Force sensitive. But personally, I really love delving into the Force and all that stuff, and Jedi and Sith and that whole battle there. So Andor not being Force sensitive is a bit of a drawback for me, but at the same time, Rogue One works, Solo works. I know the stories can work. The Umbara arc, well, I suppose that has Krell, but the Clone Wars, a big focus is on the clones, and it works. It's not my favorite, but when done right, it's just as good. So I think I'm excited for Andor. And it's not like the excitement where I'm nervous for Ahsoka. If it's bad, I'll just be like, oh, well, it's just Andor. But if it's good, I'll be like, I knew it was going to be good. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it, but I'm not, invested in it, if that makes sense. Or, I am invested in it. I won't feel betrayed if it's bad. I'm not that far into it. Next up is Star Wars: A Droid Story. I honestly, before looking all these up and compiling them, I hadn't even heard of this one. It seems kind of boring. It's like a limited series with R2-D2 and C-3PO and another character or something. I don't know. As far as I know, there's no release date, so it's just hard for me to be excited for something like this. And I feel like, I don't know, R2-D2 and C-3PO are kind of main characters, but at the same time they're more like a narrator, if that makes sense. Like R2 is less so, but especially C-3PO, he rarely does anything. And he's just kind of there giving commentary, comic relief, all that stuff. I don't know. There's the idea that they're like the eyes, like they're in every movie, right? So they are basically the people telling us the story of Star Wars because they've seen it all. That's, I guess, one of the ideas that gets thrown around about them, and I think that's great, but I don't think they work as main characters. R2 isn't proactive enough. He's willing to like do stuff, but he can't talk, which you can make it work, but it's difficult. So I don't know. I'm not super excited for this one, but then again, there's not that much information about it, so that could be why. All right, next up is the Kenobi show, which I know so many people are excited for the Kenobi show. They think it's going to be great. They think it's going to be awesome. I am just terrified of this show. There are so many ways it can go wrong. From the beginning, I didn't want this show. A lot of people are like, oh, we want a Kenobi show. And I get it. Ewan McGregor as Kenobi is just so good. But what is he doing in this time period? He's on Tatooine. He's waiting. He's watching. That's not proactive. He's not a main character. He's a hermit right now. Like, what is he going to do? Go off planet? Please don't do that. That would be terrible, in my opinion. I know it would be cool, but it would also just kind of ruin his purpose. It wouldn't make sense. Why is Kenobi doing it? And there's reasons, but how would they not find him? And I don't know. I'm just really worried that they're going to make a whole bunch of mistakes in this. And then there's that comment from Kathleen Kennedy about the showdown of a century or something between Obi-Wan and Vader, which, if it's a lightsaber duel, that's just stupid. Just why would you do lightsaber duel between those two when you have Revenge of the Sith and then A New Hope? You don't need to do something with Kenobi here. And I get it. The fans were demanding for it. Fine. But I'm not happy about it. So I don't know. And it could be good. I don't know. The other thing is, a lot of what people said at first was, oh, we can delve into what Kenobi is thinking and all that. And yeah, that's great, but wouldn't that be better as a book? You can't really delve into what someone is thinking as well in a movie. And you definitely don't need to make a movie about what someone is thinking. It might work as a short story, or I guess a full-fledged book, but then you need a whole plot, which again is the problem, is Kenobi is supposed to be a hermit on Tatooine, doing nothing but watching Luke. He's protecting Luke. He can't leave Luke. That's his job right now. His job is not to go hunting sand people or hunting crate dragons. And yeah, I guess he could do that too, but it's not that interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I'm scared for this show because there's a lot that could go wrong with it. Let me know if you're super excited, because I don't know. As long as I just don't want to be like, I just don't want you to be like super disappointed if it is bad, because that's partially what happened to me with The Last Jedi. I didn't take it as hard as other people because I don't know. But then with Rise of Skywalker, I literally went in just thinking, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to try and have fun, which was a very good plan, because if I had went in there with hope, oof, that would have hurt. So yeah, I don't know. I'm scared for Kenobi. I'm just going to try and enjoy it. I don't know. I'm very scared for this show. Alright, next up is the Lando show, which, again, like Droids, I think I had heard of this one, but I hadn't thought of it in, like, since it was announced. It just doesn't seem that interesting to me. What could be interesting is exploring, like, what Maul is doing during this time. But again, it's like that problem that I mentioned with Andor. That's not what the show is about. The show is about Lando. So I should be invested in Lando. If you want to tell a story about Maul and Kira and Crimson Dawn, don't make Lando the main character unless he's going to have major dealings with them. And if Lando has major dealings with them, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. It could. I don't know. I just feel like it'd be better to do a show about like Kira or Maul or something like that. Like, it'd be just... You don't need to take a... He's not even a side character. He's a main character. You don't need to approach plots like from an outside perspective. That leads to like stagnant characters who aren't proactive. They're not protagonists. They're just on the sidelines witnessing all the cool things other people are doing. So I don't know. And it could not be that. It could also be just Lando being Lando, which could be cool. Again, I'm more interested in Jedi than like scoundrels and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not that excited. But again, we don't have very many details about it. There's not a release date, so it's hard for me to be excited. Alright, next up we have The Mandalorian Season 3. I'm excited for this. There's a lot they can do. Obviously, the Grogu plotline has come to a pretty good conclusion, and they might bring it back, but I feel like it's at a pretty good conclusion, at least for now. Obviously, they're going to have to bring Grogu out before Ben destroys everything, and I guess turns Luke to, yeah, never mind. Yeah, so, but in the meantime, there's a lot Din Djarin can be doing. He has the Darksaber. That's very interesting. You've got Bo-Katan, who wants the Darksaber, but can't really fight him. And, well, she could, but I don't know if she should fight him. And I don't know. I feel like Bo-Katan could be the bad guy, or maybe there won't even be a bad guy. And it'll be more like everyone's out for themselves, or you know, like there's just no clear bad guy, which could be interesting. Probably a bit harder to pull off without making it seem directionless. But at the same time, it can work. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but I'm pretty sure Game of Thrones is kind of like that, where no one's the bad guy, or there's some winter people, isn't there? But for the most part, most of the interactions are just this faction is killing the other faction or something. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'm guessing. But I think it could be something like that. And I know Jon Favreau has said some things about he wants it to be more like Game of Thrones. But yeah, it could be interesting if they do more of like that, or if they have the Empire and they have to team up to like take the Empire out of Mandalore and reclaim the system. That could be cool. If they start to have Mandalore become like a huge player in the politics of the time and just starting to explore the politics of the wider galaxy, because the first two seasons have all been pretty much like the first season was literally like Mando, Grogu, that section of the Empire, that section of space. That's what the story is about. Just that little spot. And then it expands to the Jedi and exploring a bit more of space as Mando goes around trying to bring Grogu to a Jedi. And in Season 3, I think it could expand to like the wider galaxy and start delving into the politics of the New Republic versus the Empire with other factions like the Hutts, who actually they're probably not doing so well with Jabba dead. You've got other crime syndicates rising. You've got the Mandalore. They could be rising. I think that could be interesting. But again, it's speculation. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. They might bring Grogu back, which I'll be a little bit disappointed, as I kind of want to see Din Djarin on his own for a bit. And don't get me wrong, I love Grogu, and I want to see him come back, but I want to see him come back after a while, and I want to see that reunion when it's actually impactful. So yeah, I'm excited for this. As always, I'm a little bit skeptical and worried that it's not going to be very good, and I'll have to be disappointed. But this one I'm pretty sure will be good, because, I mean, other than the filler episodes, Mandalorian has been a really, really good show. Have been very little, like, things that are bad. There's some things that are boring in it, but there's very little that's bad. So I think Season 3 will continue that trend and start expanding the galaxy a bit, and that's my thoughts on Season 3. Should be good. Alright, next up we got Rangers of the New Republic, which I don't know if it's still happening. Again, I don't keep up with this stuff as much as other content creators, so if you want like a really in-depth analysis, don't watch my channel. But if you just want to hear my thoughts, it looks good, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of potential here, but also it's a very new thing, so it's hard to speculate. I know Cara Dune was like meant to be in it. I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. We could also see like Hera Syndulla. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation, and then Cara Dune just complicates everything. So I don't know what to think about this show, honestly. Alright, next up we got Star Wars Visions, which I'm super excited for. So this one we actually have a fair bit of information about. Kind of. Okay, so we've got the two trailers. One is like a traditional trailer. One is like a behind-the-scenes type of trailer. and then you've got a release date, and basically what this is anime but in Star Wars. The good thing is, and I say good thing, this is good or bad depending on how you look at it. It's not going to be canon, which means the studios making these get to do whatever they want. They can go crazy. They can just like they can make an old man with 2 red lightsabers fight Jedi. It looks cool. That's probably the one I'm most looking forward to. I think that one looks really interesting. But yeah, they can do whatever they want. They don't even have to be affiliated with each other. They can just be good stories, which they are short stories, which like not that short stories are bad, but I prefer really long stories that build to something just truly epic and just blow your mind away. Short stories are good though too. They're very entertaining. So I'm excited for that. I'm also just excited to see how anime translates into Star Wars. I think it will do pretty well. I should mention I'm not a big anime fan. I have seen some episodes of Pokemon, but I gave up on that because I wasn't interested. I saw Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I know isn't technically anime, but it's kind of anime-ish. I've seen clips of other stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a big anime fan. So this should be an interesting, I guess, step into anime. Not like, again, have some experience with anime, but yeah, this should be interesting. I don't know. I think Star Wars and anime would go pretty well together. Especially like Legends. If they started doing anime adaptations of Legends stories, that could be really awesome. I mean, yeah, just think of like Darth Bane in an anime. That would be so cool. Like Darth Revan too. There's just a lot they could do with anime. I don't know as much about canon. Canon tends to be a bit more grounded. The comics get away a little bit. But again, from what I've read, I haven't read all the comics. Technically I haven't read any. I've seen YouTube videos about them though. But yeah, so Visions should be cool. I'm excited for it, but it's not canon. It's just gonna be something entertaining. That's my thoughts on it. There's not very much stakes because a lot of the other ones that I'm excited for, I'm just as nervous for because what if they're bad? Then I'm going to miss out on this great thing and instead get this burden on canon. I'm going to be like, oh, that's Star Wars, really? But it's not canon, so there's like no pressure. Like, sure, I can watch it and not be entertained and be, well, that was a waste of however long these shows are. But at the same time, it's probably going to be at least somewhat entertaining. So I'm just plain excited for Visions. Like, no worries at all for this. Oh, and that's back to Acolyte. So that's all of them. Actually, I didn't count them. All the shows that are coming up. That's my thoughts on all of those. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say about the shows. I like most of them. I'm excited for them, but at the same time, we don't have very much information about them. So I'm just kind of like, oh, it could be cool. I don't know. It's a lot of speculation. The other thing is, when I'm excited for it, I'm also nervous about it. And that's kind of the trend for all these. Visions is like the one exception. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the upcoming shows. With all that being said, goodbye, old friends.